I'm so happy that I'm finally able to deploy to AWS, at least the AWS for Dummies, which is Lightsail. Because for me, AWS is really daunting. It has so many configurations, but Lightsail is like the simplified version of it. It doesn't mean that it's less capable, but it has like top tier developer experience in my experience. I've been using it for my Netcore SaaS, my .NET SaaS applications and databases, and I even have a virtual machine on Windows so I can code on C# there because I'm a Mac user. Um, and I actually tried deploying my Remix apps before to AWS Amplify and using SST.dev, which is a pretty nice infrastructure or infrastructure as code, I think. But I was not able to because I use Prisma, and Prisma doesn't get along well with serverless environments. That has happened to me before on Vercel itself. It increases the cold starts. But if you're using a real world application, cold starts shouldn't be an issue. So I'm gonna do a quick guide that I actually deployed here as a gist that you can read publicly, or you can see the full article on my SaasRock site. I'm actually gonna copy paste this on my VS Code, on a VS Code tab to have it locally. There are a few requirements. As context, I'm using my Remix apps with Prisma, Beat, Remix 2.8, and what else? And yeah, that's my stack. You need a Docker file, and you can see all the required files for Docker at the bottom of this gist, which is Docker file, Docker ignore, and this is my Beat config for reference and my package scripts. And yeah, also this start.sh shell command. Now, let's go step by step. First, you need to install Docker Desktop, and you obviously need an AWS account, and you need to install the AWS CLI and the plugin for Lightsail. I have the links here. Now, I'm gonna find and replace these names because you may want to call it differently, obviously. So instead of SaasRock Dev Service for the container servers on Lightsail, which is gonna be here on this dashboard on Amazon Lightsail, I'm gonna replace this with SaasRock Demo Service. And for SaasRock Dev, which is gonna be the application name or the image name, I'm gonna do the same, SaasRock Demo Image. And I always use this region because I have almost all my applications databases on Supabase on this specific region, but you can change it on the supported AWS regions. And now the first step is to build the actual image with Docker. And the command is really simple, Docker build, and then I'm not sure what the T flag is. I'm a Docker newbie, I'm an AWS newbie, but I'm sure you already know what the flag stands for. So this should take, well, in my machine, it takes like a minute, but it depends on your Wi-Fi connection, on your memory of your computer, and maybe other things that I'm not aware of. But actually my Mac is starting to slow down, but I'm gonna explain what I needed to implement on my Docker file. Because this Docker file is the same that I use for fly.io. So I just hit fly, deploy, and this Docker image is built and then deploy it there. And that's really easy for me. It's my go-to deployment provider. But Vercel is pretty nice too. The first thing that I added is this comment or directive to indicate that is like cross-platform, because I'm building the image on an Apple Silicon machine, and I also need this flag stating that the platform that I'm building for is Linux AMD 64, which is the container on Amazon. And I think that's it. I think I also added this permission modification for this entry point, which is the start.sh file. And this file just runs, I think, npm run start. Yeah, and this has the directive as well. So I think now I'm gonna pause, and yeah, I'm gonna pause and come back once it's built. Okay, now it's built. It took a while, but this is considering that I'm recording, so my Mac gets really slow when I'm recording. It takes under a minute when I'm not. But anyways, going back to the steps, the second step is to actually test the container by exposing, well, by running Docker run and by exposing the port, and I'm redirecting the port to the same port, which is 8080. So this will start the build application, and I should be able to go to localhost 8080. But first, since I'm testing it locally, I'm using this flag -- file, and I'm using this environment file. If you like to use another one for a specific purpose, you can do that. This is not going to be deployed on AWS, so you can use whatever environment variable here. I mean file. But let's see the application. Let's hit in the browser, and we should get I'm getting an error because I ran the wrong environment file. I'm gonna stop this container. I'm gonna delete it on Docker desktop because Command C or Control C here doesn't work. I don't know why. And I'm gonna use this one, mdemo. And I'm gonna actually go to that file to see what it contains. m.demo. And oh, and this is another thing. Since I'm using Postgres locally, using this Postgres app, local Postgres server, you cannot use localhost on a container. There's a special a special string or magic string for that. You can use host.docker.internal. That's the same as localhost. Now I'm gonna do the same thing, but with this correct file, because I think the other one, it's using another local connection. I made a mistake here, is that demo. Okay, so let's try again, opening the browser and refreshing the page until it loads correctly. Well, let's give it a few seconds. And it's taking longer than expected. So I'm gonna pause the video and come back. Okay, now the port should be running. Yeah, now I'm gonna test the application by going as an admin and using my email. Oh, it's already there. Okay, so it seems to be working. Otherwise, I would have had an error right away. Accessing the dashboard as an admin, so my application works. Now I can stop this and go to the next step, which is starting to create or starting to play with the AWS CLI. I cannot stop this server. I'm not sure how do I stop it, other than deleting the container, and this releases the command line. Now we're gonna use AWS Lightsail create container service on this specific region with this service name and this instance size, and the number of instances will be just one. This nano is $7 per month. It's not free, but I think there's a trial plan. Well, I just run this command, and the output is like a JSON. So you can see that it's pending, and I'm gonna exit with double points. I'm not sure how they're called, and Q to quit. And then I can check the container status with this command. Or I can go to my dashboard on Lightsail and see that it's pending. As you can see, it's pending. And this is the size, nano, with 512 megabytes of RAM. And yeah, it's only one node. So I can refresh the page until it's ready. Now it's ready. So we can now go to the next step, which is pushing the previously built image to the container. So the command is AWS Lightsail push container image on this region with this service name and the label that I'm going to deploy. The image label that I'm going to deploy is latest. And it's this image. So we're gonna push that container image, and this should be fairly quick. This will return an image tag if it's not the first image deployment. Well, it's not the first one because I already made some deployments before. So I'm gonna go to, well, step by step. In order to deploy to your image to the container on Amazon, you need the environment where you set the service name and the environment variables and the port that is going to be exposed. And for that, you need to create a local configuration file that I just called AWS-Lightsail-containers, but you can call it whatever you want. And here you specify the service name, the containers with the service name, the image that it's going to use, and here I'm going to use this one, but of course not on the README, on the actual configuration file. So I'm going to put this image, and here you can put your environment variables and the ports that you're going to expose. And since the container is exposing this port, I'm telling it that it's going to be exposed on this container, and the public endpoint will be this service. So it's pretty easy. I like it when it's pretty straightforward and not magic strings that I don't understand. Now you should add this file to git ignore because the environment could contain sensitive information that you don't want on the public repo or on the private repo even. Now we're gonna create a service container deployment using this specific file. So let's do it. And this, well, we got an error referring to this image. Let's see, when calling container, SaasRock dev service doesn't exist because the service name is now called SaasRock demo service. And yeah, I'm gonna save this file and try again. So the service name that you put, make sure that you put the same on the file. So now the state is deploying, and you can do the same thing. There's a command to check the status. Where is it? I think it's at the bottom. Or you can go to the container and see the deployment version status here. And you can see the logs by clicking show details and click open log. No logs available. Yeah, because it's still deploying, but you can refresh or just wait for like 1 or 2 minutes, depending on your image size. So I'm gonna pause and come back once it's fully deployed. Okay, so now I'm getting these logs. It ran the start command, and the application is now started. So this deployment should be ready. Let me see. Let me refresh this page. So it's still deploying, but let me see if there's a command to check the latest deployment. create container. Yeah, is this one, AWS Lightsail get container services. And on this region, I want to get the next deployment state. And if it's empty, it means it's ready. Okay, so it's still activating. So I'm gonna pause and come back. Otherwise, I will be doing this. Okay, so now if I run this check, which is next deployment dot state, it's empty. It means there's no next deployment. So it should be deployed, and you can check that with this command, which is AWS Lightsail get container services, the same as before, but instead of container services next deployment state, it's container services .url. So I'm gonna grab that, and here we have the deployed application, and here it's the service name and then a random slug, the region .cs.amazon Lightsail. So let's go to that route and see if it's working. Okay, it's working. I'm just gonna make sure that internationalization works by switching the language and going inside the application by using my user. This is a nano instance, so it should be faster if you increase on a bigger instance, or if you put your database as close to your container as possible. So it's working, and I guess that's it, because the next steps are just to update deployments. And I'm not using continuous deployment, so there's no GitHub Actions or any fancy command that runs all these applications, commands together. But I'm gonna refresh for you. So you need to build your image once changes are made to the application. You need to push the newly built image again using this command in step 4. And then you need to grab the new image tag that, as you saw me grab the .5 tag that I put on this file, latest .5, and then you need to deploy, to create the container service deployment again using the same file. So this is repeating step 6. And yeah, check the state, and if you forgot the URL, you can grab it with the same command that I used before. And that's it. I'm pretty happy with this because AWS was like a big check mark that I wanted to check on my deployment providers for SaasRock, but this is SaasRock as agnostic. You don't need to be a SaasRock customer to use this. And the actual article that I used for this is this one: deploy a container web app on Amazon Lightsail. But this was using a Python application, and it was not specific for Remix, and it was not specific for my configuration, which is using Prisma, using Bit, using Remix, using an Apple Silicon to build the image. So yeah, and yeah, I guess that's it. I just want to show you that I tried to deploy to AWS Lambda, AWS Amplify, but I couldn't. I spent the whole Monday trying to deploy there. As you can see, I chose my GitHub project, and then I connected the GitHub account, and then I set the environment variables here, and then went to build the application. But I had so many errors. I tried like 33 deployments, and the main issue was with Prisma. Prisma is not very serverless friendly. And once I was able to deploy, to build the image there, the deployment now failed with some ambiguous error. Look at this, internal error. Yeah, but why? The build was successful finally, but the deployment wasn't successful and there was no actual logs. And then I tried, well, and you can see that I spent almost 11 hours on this specific deployment provider, which is AWS Amplify. And then I tried sst.dev with their examples to deploy Remix site, and I actually built it correctly and deployed it to CloudFront using sst.dev. But again, I had so many Prisma errors where I had this error that it was not able to locate the query engine for this specific runtime. And I swear I tried my best on every forum, on every issue on GitHub with SST or with Lambda or with what was the other one? I can't remember. Oh, Prisma. And I wasn't able to do it. But I'm pretty happy that my efforts with Amazon Lightsail it was really worth it. So let me know if you want to see another provider for SaasRock, because now SaasRock supports Vercel, which has cold starts because of Prisma. As you can see, it's cold starting because I don't have actually any user on this URL. Let's wait for it to load. Well, while it's loading, then I have, well, there's an internal server connection that I deployed. Well, and then I have my fly.io deployment, which is my preferred choice to deploy any Remix app. And now I have this new Amazon Lightsail deployment provider. So that's nice. Maybe the next one is gonna be Cloudflare, or maybe I actually deployed on Render before. And what was the other one? DigitalOcean. Yeah, I want to make more guides. But first, before ending the video, I want to see why my latest deployment is failing. And so I'm gonna go to Vercel. This has nothing to do with Amazon Lightsail. I just want to see Prisma has detected that this project was built on Vercel, which caches dependencies. Oh, okay. I updated my Prisma client, but didn't actually updated it on Vercel. And I think I just need to redeploy it without caching. Yeah, because I just upgraded Prisma 5.6 to 5.14. So just to make sure, I'm gonna pause and come back and end the video right there. Okay, now it's working. It wasn't an issue with the cache. I mistakenly removed this post-installed Prisma generate script that is required for Vercel and Prisma to work. And now, take two. SaasRock is now deployable on Vercel, on fly.io, and now on Amazon Lightsail. I'm gonna put this gist on the video description so you can deploy any Remix app. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will gladly help you. And the full article is at SaasRock, deploy Remix to AWS Lightsail with Docker. And just before I forget, I'm gonna delete my demo. Thanks for watching.